David, I know we could talk about this for hours, and we only have the rest of the program to finish this up, but could you maybe go a little further now in explaining what has happened? You said it was about a century later that the courts kind of reinterpreted the 14th Amendment. Can you kind of explain how that changed everything, really?
Sure. The 14th Amendment basically is an amendment that transfers power. It transfers power from the state governments to the federal government. That's what it does. Now, it says, it says it's going to limit federal power, state power, and you can just read Section 1 and it'll tell you that. But the way the Supreme Court has corrupted it, they went crazy. And let's give a specific example. Why can't your child pray in a public school today? Why can't your child have the Bible read to him or her, or read the Bible to other students at the beginning of class? Why can't your child see a display of the Ten Commandments on public school property? You say, the First Amendment. Incorrect. The reason why your children cannot pray is because in the public schools, in a state public school system, is because of the 14th Amendment. Now, what do you mean? The First Amendment applied and only has jurisdiction over the federal government. That's why out of those 45 words, the first word is the most important word, Congress. And it's limited to Congress. And as long as you limit the jurisdiction of the First Amendment to Congress, that means the Supreme Court cannot decide whether your kids pray in a public school. It's that simple. Now comes along the 14th Amendment in 1868. A new Constitution is about to take birth in just a few years because the Supreme Court is going to corrupt it and come up with a novel interpretation. And they're going to say, wait a minute. You know that 14th Amendment, that due process clause in the 14th Amendment, that word liberty in the due process clause in the 14th Amendment, right in Section 1. Did you know that refers to religion? That it refers to the First Amendment, in fact. Oh, wonderful. And once the Supreme Court did that, and they did that in a case called Cantwell versus Connecticut, they did it in the year 1940. And if you want to read the case, it's 310 U.S. 296. 310 is the volume. U.S. means United States for United States Supreme Court. 296 refers to the page number. And if you just put in 310 U.S. 296, most computers will take you right to Cantwell versus Connecticut. What did that case do? It federalized religion law. What do you mean? It means from 1940 onwards, your religion clauses in the state constitutions are worthless. Because no matter which way the state goes, the federal court, the Supreme Court can reverse it at will. Because of Cantwell versus Connecticut. The framers of the Constitution wanted religion to be left in the states, and the federal government is to stay out of it. And when I tell people that the First Amendment has no jurisdiction over the states or religion over the states and so forth, they think I'm crazy. They think the First Amendment has always been applied to the states. Incorrect. The religion clauses were not applied to the states until 1940, which means out of those 30 cases that involved prayer and Bible reading before 1940 in the states of this country, how many of them used the First Amendment to decide the case? 0. When was the first time the First Amendment was applied to the school prayer or Bible reading case? Well, you know now it didn't occur until after 1940. It occurred in 1950 in the state of New Jersey. The case was Doremus. That is why your kids can't pray in a public school today, because they said the Supreme Court told a fib. They said that the 14th Amendment made the First Amendment applicable to the states. Now, they said it in 1940, and of course, the thing was ratified in 1868. What's going on between that time? Well, guess what? The legal community in the United States was not taking the position. Courts, state courts, even federal courts, law schools were all saying that the Bill of Rights still does not have jurisdiction over the states, and that remained true until 1940. So that's how you lost your freedom of religion. What the Supreme Court did in 1940 in Cantwell versus Connecticut is that they effectively reversed what the framers of the Constitution did with religion in 1787. That's what they did.